Good morning and happy Christmas to you all. We welcome as our preacher this morning, Revd Sabelo Mthimkhulu. This is his last service with us, and we give thanks for his ministry among us over the last 18 months and wish him well in his new placement.
Good morning, family of St. Paul's on this Christmas Day. Merry Christmas. We are grateful to God for keeping us this far. It is not by our own power and by our own wisdom, but it is by the grace of God, and we are grateful for that. I know most of us have faced quite difficult times during this year, but we are grateful that God has kept us and God has protected us. So even though we are struck down, but we are not destroyed. And we are grateful to God for that. May I speak in the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Amen. The problem then, preaching to you on this Christmas Day, is that you already know what to expect. Most of us expect the preacher to be standing on a pulpit and telling us about the birth of Jesus. That's what Christmas is about anyway. And maybe you also this morning are expecting the same thing. And we all know the Christmas story from Sunday school. And so we are no longer shocked by the story that Luke tells us this morning. But just imagine you are out there at Spar or Pick and Pay, feeling flattened by the terrible heat, and you are worrying about climate change and the fact that your money goes nowhere, and tossing your particular anxieties around your head. And this untidy-looking street person comes up to you and says, I had a message from an angel, and I went to a hut in the hills around Bumbulu, and there I found a newborn child, and she or he is a savior of our world. Will you believe this messenger? Will you take his message? Will you abandon your shopping and head to Bumbulu? Or you'll just smile politely and say, oh my goodness, another one, and go on with your shopping, trying to remember not to forget the choice assorted and the biscuits, and choice assorted biscuits and the dessert that you need for your Christmas. The savior of the world. It's pretty hard to even imagine the savior of our own country. Who might it be? Most of us probably thought Cyril would be one. But that also seems unlikely when his own party employees spend Christmas unpaid. Maybe some of us thought Judge Zondo would be one. Well, only if you still have the whole of 2022 to listen to the endless stories of state capture. Some of us thought King Mrs. Zulu. Well, if you still have more money to buy the newspapers narrating to us about the story about the royal household taking each other to court. So it's pretty difficult to imagine any of these powerful leaders saving just our own small world. But if you are told a baby girl or baby boy in a hut near Mbumbulu is going to do this, well, that would be a pie in the sky. But I guess that is what Luke is actually asking us to do this morning. He's asking us to believe the story this morning. A baby born in a cowshed. And this baby is a chosen one of God, anointed to be the savior, not just of the country, but of the whole world. It is outrageous as a baby girl or baby boy born in Bumbulu. And this was not shocking enough. Luke fills in some more details to help us to get to the point. Maybe let us try and explore more on these details. Luke begins his story of Jesus' birth by telling us that the Emperor Augustus ordered the whole world to be counted in census. An emperor in Rome is about as far from the baby in Bethlehem as you can imagine. The Emperor Augustus called himself Devi Philis, the Son of God, or the Divine Son. But Augustus was also sometimes called the Savior of the world. So what Luke is doing here, Luke is making a bit of a joke at the emperor's expense. When he says the baby Palestinian boy is the Son of God and the Savior of the world. So not the Emperor Augustus, but a peasant boy. Not this powerful dictating figure, but the small humble boy. And how do we know that? Well, Luke tells us that the birth was announced by an angel to a group of shepherds who eventually spread the news. So it gets more unbelievable. Those who have been to the traditional site of the shepherd field outside Bethlehem tells us that it's just a stony hill with some scrubby grass and a few small trees. So the point of all of this is that Luke insists that the birth is announced not in the palace step in Rome, or not in a temple in Jerusalem, but on an insignificant little hill to an insignificant group of untidy shepherds. And when the angel leaves those terrified shepherds, what do? They speak to each other and they decide to head to Bethlehem. We most often forget or miss this verse. We think it's not important, except that it is. The shepherds speak to each other. So contrast with the Emperor Augustus, who speaks to himself and orders the way things should be done. In God's new community, there is no top-down commands. There is a discussion with each other. Together they decided. All the voices in this kingdom matters. And they head off together and arrive together. Not some comrade marathon, but the rest of us jogging along. As community, they decide. As community, they travel. And as community, they arrive at the manger site. And as community, they discover the child, the promise as promised. So together as community, they discover the Savior. Together as community, they receive salvation. And when they head off home, and on their way, they spread the word or the word. And all were amazed at their telling. That's what Luke tells us. I imagine some of those who might have heard them saying or telling the story, they probably have went there to look for themselves. But probably others just got on with whatever they were doing. They just got on buying choice assorted biscuits and a dessert. My sisters and brothers in Christ, allow me to suggest this morning that every one of us is like the shepherds. Okay. Of course, most of us here this morning live in a middle-class homes and drive middle-class cars and own middle-class technology. But like those shepherds, every one of us has had marked by the hardship of life. We might not be poor, but each and every one of us carries something we feel ashamed of. We carry something that marks us as an outcast, something that we wouldn't like others to know about ourselves. Every one of us has endured a pain or a painful night on a cold hillside. Maybe not literally, but every one of us has watched someone we love die, or stayed awake at night frightened by the violence and the looting in our country. Every one of us lives in fear of the COVID-19, and we fear what could happen in 2022. Every one of us has faced maybe a time where we are worried about the child who's not doing well, or a relationship that looks to set to a crash, or that seems to be going down the drain. And every one of us, like those shepherds, know what it's like, and at some time or another, not to be included in a group. And I imagine pretty much every one of us think to ourselves, who am I? I have no hope, no right to be touched by the divine and come to face to face with the face of God. And yet, it is in those outcasts, in those worried, frightened, unimportant, or ordinary people that the angelic messenger comes and says, "Today to you is born the sign of hope." We won't hear the gospel proclaimed in parliament or in those very powerful places, and we won't hear it told to the perfect parts of our own lives, the parts we usually put on display, the parts we want people to see, especially in church. The angel's message is spoken to you and to me in the frail, in fragile, in faithless parts of our own lives, and often on the dark nights. And it will probably be frightening and strange and pretty unbelievable. But when we have each other on our sides, when we speak and journey with each other, and when we stick together and encourage each other, perhaps we too, like those shepherds, we will together arrive at the manger and discover the light of the world. Together we'll discover the Savior. Together we will be saved. Amen.